is the preferred weapon of soldiers, gangsters, law enforcement, and terrorists all over the world. This compact, concealable killing machine is capable of firing hundreds of rounds a minute. Traditionally used by armed forces to lay down high-volume suppressive fire, the Tommy gun evolved into the modern submachine gun and inspired the personal defense weapon, a new generation of compact automatics used by elite forces everywhere. I'm about to find out how menacing these close-quarters combat weapons really are. This is the submachine gun. Nothing has shaped history more than the gun. I'm Wil Willis, former Army Ranger and Air Force pararescueman. I've trained with modern weapons until firing them is second nature. Now, I'm out to master the greatest military firearms of all time and see how these weapons change the world. The father of all submachine guns is the Thompson, a true game changer in the history of weaponry. In the hands of a skilled, brave soldier, it meant the difference between success and failure, life and death for himself and his platoon. The Thompson M1 proves its worth in Italy during World War II, when an Allied invasion hits the Gustav Line. This chain of dug-in German defenses blocks any advance to Rome. At Hill 79, Army Lieutenant Robert Waugh leads an American infantry unit against 6 heavily fortified German bunkers. Waugh orders his men to lay down cover fire. Then he charges the first bunker alone. One steady burst from his Thompson kills those who emerge. Waugh repeats the attack on the 5 remaining bunkers, killing 30 enemy soldiers and capturing 25. His single-handed assault breaks the Gustav Line at Hill 79. Lieutenant Robert Waugh is awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his heroism. His courageous actions depend on the compact size and blistering firepower of the Thompson. As a former Army Ranger and Air Force pararescueman, I was issued an M4 carbine, so I've never gotten my hands on a Thompson submachine gun. So to get me up to speed on this legendary weapon, I've called in an expert. Jeff Reeves is a former Navy SEAL, and he's seen firsthand how the submachine gun is a force multiplier in combat.
The submachine gun gave a single soldier an advantage over a platoon of enemy riflemen. Some of these weapons are crude, some of them are absolutely beautiful from an operator's point of view. Hands down, the submachine gun is one of the most important weapons in military history.
So this is the famous Thompson. And there's the common misconception that this was only used by gangsters in movies, and that's how it got the nickname Tommy gun.
Well, it wasn't only used by gangsters. It was originally created by John Thompson to be employed by the American Expeditionary Forces to help end World War I. Unfortunately for Thompson and his design team, the war ended in November of 1918, and that was before the Annihilator, is what they termed it, could be shipped over to Europe. However, it did change an infantryman's weaponry and his tactics.
And this was the very first submachine gun.
It is the very first weapon to be termed a submachine gun. Now, there were other models like the German Bergmann MP18 and also the Italian Wil Willis, which was mounted to one's chest and fired using a chest strap. However, this weapon here was the first one to be given the nomenclature a submachine gun.
Now, what makes it a submachine gun versus a regular machine gun?
A submachine gun is a fully automatic weapon that shoots pistol ammunition. This Thompson fires the same round that's shot in the Colt 1911, except the Thompson fires 700 rounds per minute. The Thompson weighs slightly over 10 pounds and has a muzzle velocity of 935 feet per second. It reloads using a blowback system. The pressure from firing gases pushes back the breech block and extracts the spent cartridge. The spring then pushes the block forward again, feeding the next round into the chamber. The Thompson is a fully automatic weapon, meaning if you hold down the trigger, it'll keep firing until you're out of rounds.
The weapon cycles so quickly that the muzzle flips up, and you really got to force it back down on target. So you get a pretty wide beaten zone with this weapon, but it's a lot of fun to fire. When long-range accuracy is not an issue, the Thompson's ability to spray a ton of bullets in a wide area makes it the gun of choice. On the downside, if engaging a target at 200 yards, a Thompson round could drift as much as 9 inches. Back in World War II, Lieutenant Robert Waugh took advantage of the Tommy gun's greatest strength, cycling a lot of rounds in a short amount of time. Jeff's designed a test to show me how Waugh pulled it off.
You're gonna run a couple machine gun bunkers, toss in some smoke grenades, and then shoot all the enemy fleeing around the sides. You'll be utilizing the Thompson M1A1. It was originally designed to be used in World War II. It's a stripped-down version of the classic we all know. You'll be utilizing the stick magazines, not the drums. The sticks are actually more reliable and easier to reload. I also suggest you try firing it from the shoulder position and also from the hip position like they did back in the day. You ready?
Always.
All right, let's do this.
I'm starting back about 80 feet, well within the Thompson's effective range.
Ready, Will?
Loading now. This gun is most accurate when fired within 50 feet of its target. The Thompson fires its huge .45 caliber rounds roughly 10% faster than the Colt M1911 pistol. At this range, the submachine gun rounds penetrate one enemy and also take out the one behind. There is no measurable bullet drift in close quarters combat. Hey. Firing this Thompson was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. It's a little bit longer than the assault rifles or submachine guns that I'm used to, but let's take a look at the damage it did.
Seeing some daylight through his core and through his face. That was a good hit right there.
I just kind of followed, tracked around the building, and then these guys presented themselves. And I actually got a really good burst on this first guy. Even though you don't see any bleeding on the outside, and you can see right here you got some good internal bleeding, and internal bleeding is still the emptying of the vessel.
Absolutely.
Lieutenant Robert Waugh's strategy maximized the Thompson's capability at the Gustav line, but it was a very different kind of war that prompted its creation. In World War I, each side fielded machine guns that mowed down any infantry advance they faced. Both armies hunkered down in trenches while working feverishly to find new weapons that could break the stalemate. Hence the development of the submachine gun and mobile firepower, something that soldiers today might take for granted.
It was a vicious close-quarters weapon that you could sweep the trenches, and so they would say.
The war prompts several new designs. One of the most powerful bears the name of its creator, John Browning. The M1918, often called the BAR, or Browning Automatic Rifle, is the closest thing to a submachine gun the U.S. fielded in World War I. The inventor's son, Second Lieutenant Val Browning, was one of the first to fire it in battle. The M1918 helped establish walking fire as a tactic to cross no man's land and enter enemy trenches. At 16 pounds, the M1918 was much lighter than earlier machine guns. It was also more reliable. It created a sensation when it was introduced. And let me tell you, it's a monster of a gun. I'm really taking that slower rate of fire. That front sight kicks up, but it's easy to bring right back down on target.
The weight of the gun actually keeps the barrel on target much more effectively than if it were to be a lighter gun. Like in shooting the Thompson, that thing can get out of hand pretty quick, but this actually does a great job of keeping the front sights on the target.
I mean, this thing's a beast. A lot of fun to shoot. That barrel gets wicked hot. The BAR and the Thompson submachine gun are both fully automatic weapons. But one's a rifle, the other a submachine gun that fires a pistol round. These weapons were teamed up during World War II. But why? Jeff and I will put the two weapons to the test. Jeff will fire the BAR, while I fire the 1928 model Thompson with its legendary drum magazine. An obstacle course will test each gun's portability. Effective range and magazine capacity will also factor into our test. At the end of this, we should have a pretty good idea of what our weapons are capable of and which one we would rather have in a combat situation.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Let's do it.
Ready, set, go.
Taking this BAR through that barbed wire is not fun. I mean, 16 pounds. This thing is 47 inches long. That's a lot you're moving through there.
It was very apparent at 10 yards. One good shot from the BAR can destroy a target. But the Thompson has plenty of power at close range, and its much larger magazine capacity means it can stay in the fight far longer. As the distance increases, the Thompson's penetrating power diminishes. While the BAR is still hitting at full force, its smaller magazine is running out of rounds.
Discover the past with exclusive military history documentaries and ad-free podcasts presented by world-renowned historians, all on History Hit. Watch them on your smart TV or on the go with your mobile device. Download the app now to watch everything, from the gripping story of the Band of Brothers to Operation Barbarossa and D-Day. Immerse yourself in the dramatic stories of this remarkable era by signing up via the link in the description.
So your water jug is pretty much
Destroyed.
Annihilated. That's a lot of transfer of energy with that 30-06 rifle round.
Absolutely. You're 45, pushing through there. You see how it just penetrated. It didn't have the velocity to knock it off and completely shatter it. The 30-06 rifle round just demolished the part of the cinder block that it hit.
The 45 did pretty much the same thing at this distance. My accuracy is already starting to diminish. Of course, I hit this low, but just the one time.
With the 20-round magazine, you don't have much opportunity to miss. And, of course, there is this lone totem left standing. I just simply ran out of ammo.
Yeah, but at least I still had the rounds to suppress these targets.
Good test.
Yeah, absolutely. The BAR has a lot more power, but the Thompson puts more rounds downrange quickly. Together, they're a powerful combination. Both were trailblazing firearms. Allies and enemies alike hurried to copy the designs. But by the time it went into production, the First World War was over, and the U.S. Army lost interest.
The Thompson submachine gun is heavier than what we operate with today. The best way to fire this gun is in 3 to 5 round bursts. You got to hold down the front end to get your rounds on target and shoot it sporadically, because if you just hold the trigger down, it'll just blow you right off your socks.
John Thompson believed so much in the submachine gun that he started his own company, Auto Ordnance, with the idea of selling to civilians and law enforcement. Now, Colt manufactured them, and Thompson sold them to anybody that wanted an automatic weapon. And they were legal for anybody to own at the time.
And that coincided with the prohibition of the 1920s.
The Thompson submachine gun with a single 20-round stick magazine sold for about $200. At the time, that was a lot of money. A Ford Model T only cost about $300. Gangsters were among the few who could afford a Thompson, and for a few dollars more, they could have the awesome firepower of a 100-round drum magazine.
This weapon here received many nicknames, such as the Chicago typewriter, the chopper, and also the Tommy gun.
It's the gun that made the 20s roar.
Right.
Hollywood's portrayals of ruthless gangsters firing on their enemies with Tommy guns blazing weren't far from the truth. The prohibition of alcohol in 1919 set the stage for more than a decade of violent crime. Organized mobs in large cities smuggled liquor into the country, then dispersed it to their network of speakeasies. Thirsty customers enjoyed the wild times and flooded gangs with cash. It wasn't long before mobsters began battling over territory.
So Thompson caught a huge break with a whole new set of clients, namely gangsters. They were distributing illegal booze, and they were very interested in protecting not only themselves, but their product. That led to police departments picking some up because they wanted to keep up with the firepower of the bad guys.
The most notorious incident was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. On February 14, 1929, 2 men with Thompsons gunned down 7 gangsters in a Chicago warehouse. Though crime boss Al Capone was suspected of ordering the hit, no one was ever charged with the multiple murder. Capone was finally sent to prison for income tax evasion. The Thompson came out of the Prohibition era more famous than ever. During the 1920s and 30s, the United States Marines become the first to test the Thompson on the front lines in a string of U.S. interventions in Central America known as the Banana Wars. The Thompson's high rate of fire and relatively small size prove ideal for these tropical jungle wars. In World War II, the U.S. Army brings an improved Thompson designated M1A1 to Europe and the Pacific. The Thompson is everywhere. Prime Minister Winston Churchill even has himself photographed flaunting a Tommy gun to boost British morale. It was also thought that the motorcycle would be the ideal platform from which to employ the Thompson as long as it was in a special mount. Photographs were taken of soldiers testing the Tommy gun from Harley-Davidsons known as the Liberator and British Royal Enfield motorcycles like this one. Each country involved in the Second World War developed a new and unique submachine gun. It was the must-have weapon of the era. Justin Molnar is an expert on the second generation of submachine guns, which proves to be faster and cheaper to produce.
In World War II, the submachine gun was very important. Now battles were being pulled out of trenches, and the various locations that they would be fighting, it could range from house to house, tree to tree. We needed a weapon that was automatic, easy to carry by a single individual, and allowed them to be very mobile. 1.5 million Thompsons were produced throughout World War II, where it saw action both in Europe and in the Pacific. But there just wasn't enough to go around. They were just too expensive to produce. So a cheaper, easier to produce, and lighter submachine gun was needed to fill that gap. And you don't get any cheaper or simpler than this submachine gun, which was chosen to replace the Thompson. This is the all-metal stamp and welded M3, more popularly known as the grease gun.
It looks primitive but effective.
You know, at close quarters, it gets the job done. It was called the grease gun because it looks like a mechanic's tool. In fact, it was made by General Motors, and it cost only 1/10 the price of the Thompson. It fires a .45 caliber round with a 30-round detachable magazine. It was so cheaply produced that when it stopped working, they were just thrown away. You want to give it a shot?
You don't have to ask me twice.
All right, let's do it.
Going hot. Nice. It's got a slow rate of fire. It's easy to control. Getting that front sight, keeping it on target. Actually, I'm wondering right now why we ever went to something else beyond this. It fires a .45 ACP round. It's a great, great weapon.
So, Will, I just finished shooting the grease gun, and before that, the Thompson. Which do you prefer?
I actually prefer the grease gun. Slower rate of fire allows me to re-index my target faster. I'm gonna be able to conserve ammo. The collapsible buttstock makes it a little bit more versatile. The Thompson, of course, has a fixed buttstock. It's lighter than the Thompson. For me, grease gun all the way. Okay, so this looks kind of like the Thompson. Who used that?
Well, this is the Soviet submachine gun. It's called the PPSH-41, more commonly known as the Papa-Shaw. It had a 71-round drum magazine and fired a 7.62 by 25mm Tokarev round. It had a staggering rate of fire at 900 rounds per minute. That's twice that of the grease gun.
During World War II, the Soviet Union issued Papa-Shavs to huge numbers of soldiers, male and female. More than 5 million were made by 1945, but it's not the grease gun's only competition. I think I recognize this one. It's German, right?
You are right. This is the German MP40, or in German, Maschinenpistole 40. It's made of plastic and low-carbon steel sheet metal instead of machined steel, which makes it far more cost-effective to manufacture and much lighter in the field.
How did these World War II era SMGs stack up against each other? Let's find out. Justin and I are about to initiate on this shooter challenge. I'll be using the M3 grease gun. He'll be using the German MP40, both famous submachine guns from World War II. We're gonna find out which one is best. The M3 fires a much bigger round, but the MP40 has a higher rate of fire and a faster muzzle velocity. I've got 40 beer can targets. He's got 40 vodka bottle targets. Whoever has the least amount of targets left at the end wins. You ready to rock and roll?
You bet I am.
All right. For this test, Justin and I each have 2 magazines. As we each load our second magazine, I can see that even though the MP40 fires 50 rounds a minute faster, the M3's slower rate of fire makes it more accurate. So I can get more rounds on target even though I fire less of them.
A little surprised you got. So you fared fairly well on the accuracy here. It looks like you had good control of your weapon, and the grease gun really helps out with that weapon.
Well, that slower rate of fire, again, helps you re-index your targets really easily.
I think the firing system and design was roughly based on the MP40, so it's definitely going to gain some of the advantages the MP40 had as far as its lightness and its control. But you got that .45 ACP stopping power, which definitely comes in handy. I think they did fairly well considering the number of targets that we had to fire at.
40 targets. You got roughly 11 targets still standing. I've got 1, 2, 3 targets still standing, and then some that probably fell over because they were scared. Despite their differences, the grease gun and the MP40 are closely matched. Yet within a decade of the end of World War II, both of these top-tier weapons were challenged by a groundbreaking new concept. The submachine guns of World War II were superb weapons made by major powers. But by 1955, a new submachine gun from Israel moves in at the top of the class. I'm talking about the Uzi. Former Israeli commando Aaron Cohen knows all about this iconic submachine gun and why it's become a legend around the world.
What I love about the Uzi is its compactness, its ability to be able to engage targets very, very selectively, the high rate of ammunition that can be carried in the actual weapon, and its ability to be concealed and deployed very quickly because of its size. This is a very good-looking weapon. It's compact. It looks even better with the magazine in it. It's got the retractable buttstock. But I believe the real reason why this became a pop culture weapon is because Israeli trainers, specifically from our special operations units, were tapped to train security forces all over the world. And with the trainers came the weapon. And so you begin to see this weapon get more and more saturated into different tactical communities, ultimately working its way up into the U.S. Secret Service, the FBI's hostage rescue team.
The Uzi was one of the first submachine guns to use the telescoping bolt design, which allows for the magazine to be housed in the pistol grip, just like a modern-day semi-automatic pistol. It makes for a compact weapon. At a length of 18 inches, the Uzi is 4 inches shorter than the grease gun. Its 8-pound stamped steel construction means it's light, cheap, and easy to make. Most Uzis fire a 9mm round, but it can easily be converted to fire the .45 ACP and other calibers. In the field, Israeli soldiers speed up reloading by taping 2 magazines together. When one's empty, they rotate to the next, rather than pulling a fresh mag from a pocket or a pack. Nearly 100 countries adopt the Uzi as a military or police firearm, making it one of the most successful weapons of all time. But for Israelis, the Uzi's most important job is to protect its front doorstep. During the Six-Day War, Israeli troops armed with Uzis target the Golan Heights, Syrian territory overlooking Israel. The compact submachine gun is easy to maneuver, improving the odds in a surprise attack. At the end of the battle, Israeli forces armed with Uzis take control of the Golan Heights. The Uzi's compact size makes it ideal for covert ops, but a related weapon is even smaller. So what we have here is an Israeli-designed micro Uzi. It fires a 9mm round. This thing is air-cooled, magazine-fed. It fires from the closed bolt position. So right off the bat, I got this 9mm stick magazine, all right? Now we're hot with this. This has an additional safety feature on the rear of the pistol grip right here. Unless this portion is squeezed on the weapon, a round will not go down range.
It's less than a foot long when it's completely collapsed. This is the final version, the most updated cutting-edge version of the Uzi. In 2003, the regular Uzi was outdated. This is still in our counter-terrorist tool bag. This weapon, designed specifically for covert undercover operations, accurate, concealable. What do you say we go throw some lead down range?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
All right, now it's time to have some fun with these Uzis. You've got a regular size Uzi. I'm gonna take this micro Uzi, probably one of my favorite things from the 1970s. My least favorite thing, disco. So, are you ready to wreck this disco hole?
It's time to put the disco down.
All right, let's go. All right, lock and load.
Here we go.
Engage. In fully automatic mode, the micro Uzi can fire more than 1,000 rounds a minute. For better aim and control, we're firing in semi-auto mode, just as Israeli commandos are trained to do. We've seen the accuracy of both the standard and micro Uzis in semi-auto mode, but a lightning-fast covert action can require full auto fire. Aaron's gonna test the micro Uzi in that scenario.
So, Will, what I'm going to demonstrate for you right now is what we refer to as the Israeli limited penetration entry technique. And what it enables us to do is move very, very quickly with a lot of intensity and aggressiveness while being able to get directly to the threat as quickly as possible. We have to shoot very, very accurately, so there's to be a lot of selectivity involved, which is why the Uzi ties into this very well. Also, with these walls right here, we want to use a round that's not going to penetrate and go through, and so the Uzi, particularly the 9x19mm round, a frangible variation of it, will allow us to be able to get a lot of ammo out relatively safely in conjunction with this technique very, very quickly.
I'm glad you brought up frangible ammunition, because it's ammunition that is specifically designed to break apart so that it doesn't over-penetrate a target and go through walls into things that are possibly behind the walls, like teammates and other innocents. And we're big on that in the U.S. military as well, in a CQC or CQB environment.
We don't want to be putting holes into anything that doesn't deserve to have a hole put into it.
Exactly.
So we want to make sure that that we're shooting very, very straight as quickly as possible while doing the maximum amount of damage with the minimum amount of damage to innocent lives.
The Mini Uzi is a perfect weapon for the Israeli method of hostage rescues. For this test, Aaron must confront an unknown number of terrorists holding a hostage, and it'll be his job to bring her out safely. I want to see the Israeli limited penetration technique in action. You're doing all the action, and I'm going to be following you with this camera just right there with you.
So you've got the camera, I've got the Israeli micro Uzi. Let's do it.
All right, man, that happened a lot faster than I thought it was going to. Very, very quick. So right off the bat, you open the door and you got these rounds. You know, this one guy standing here. You already have rounds on target. All of these are putting this guy out of the action. He is absolutely done. This target drops, and you're moving very quickly down this hallway, and you're engaging your second target from this doorway. From the doorway, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds on target, multiple shots. Again, this guy's out of the fight before he even realizes that his buddy's down in the hallway. You moved into the room, you secured the hostage, and you were moving out before I even really realized that all the bad guys were down. Aaron's test run with the micro Uzi confirms its value in tight confines and close quarters combat. Few weapons boast the combination of firepower and maximum concealment offered by the micro Uzi. The most popular and widely used submachine gun for the past few decades has been the Heckler & Koch Machine Pistol 5. Over the years, the MP5 has been adopted by huge numbers of military and police forces, from FBI and SWAT to U.S. Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, even the Marine Corps. This is the submachine gun that I trained on as an Air Force pararescueman, and it continues to be state-of-the-art. The MP5 combines 21st century firepower with a sturdy, lightweight frame. It throws out a lot of lead at a very high rate, yet it weighs only 6 pounds. Firing on full auto with this weapon system is a lot of fun. Nice tight groups. I'm familiar with this, and it feels great back in my hands. The Uzi reigned supreme until Heckler & Koch pushed it aside in the mid-'60s with their superior MP5. Today, special ops units from around the world have adopted this German weapon as their own. Phil Singleton, former British Special Forces, is giving me the inside story of the legendary MP5.
This is the RollsRoyce of submachine guns or any weapon in a pistol caliber. It is very, very simple to fire, very simple to operate. Anybody can shoot it. Its sighting system is very, very simple and very quick to get on target.
Now, these are all modern MP5s. They're different variations. Can you explain the differences to me?
Absolutely. This is the first one. This is the MP5, which every other model then was designed from. Nothing really has changed major in this. The main receiver is the same in each one of them. MP5 SD, this had a single job, to fire rounds suppressed, not to give away noise. Muzzle velocity, 1,200 feet per second on average round. With this, it'll bring it down to about 950, and of course 1,000 feet per second, anything that goes 1,000 feet per second breaks the sound barrier. So the first thing you're doing is you're getting away from that high-pitched crack, and of course, like a muffler on a car, you're going to get a very reduced bang.
But you will definitely still have some killing capability.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Because a gun will always make some noise, there's no such thing as a silencer. The device on this weapon is called a suppressor. It lets the bullet pass through, but traps enough explosive gas to reduce its velocity to below the speed of sound. Listen to the difference. That's PS for Phil Singleton. That's pretty amazing work right there. And I definitely heard the difference between this version and the SD version right there.
Absolutely.
I mean, that one was a lot more muted. It was something that you would want to use on a covert operation where you don't want to make as much noise.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's amazing. And great shooting, by the way.
But if you carry one of these, you know you're going home at the end of the day.
In countless special ops missions, the MP5 SD has proven it's the go-to weapon for a suppressed but deadly hit. So here's a little treat. We've all seen spy movies. What I've got here is a functional briefcase gun developed by H&K. I've got a regular MP5 inside of this thing, nice and compact. It's held in with a series of mechanisms, and the trigger is actually actuated from this trigger handle up here. There's a safety built in. This thing will not go off unless I actuate this safety and engage the trigger. Down here, I've got a spot for an extra magazine. You know, this thing fits in like so that if I did have to, in the middle of my covert operation, you know, pull out my MP5 and use it a little bit more effectively, I've got a spare mag right there. Another cool thing is that all the brass ejects into the case and you carry it away from your objective with you. So you're not leaving behind any evidence. It's pretty awesome. All right, let's check it out, see how this thing fires. Take my magazine, pop it into the magazine well. All right, that sucker's locked in. Let the bolt go forward. Now this weapon is hot. I switch the selector lever to full auto, okay? Again, it will not fire unless I squeeze this trigger up here. Now I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's check it out. To test this gun, my challenge is to take out 2 robotic criminals without hitting any of the innocent bystanders. That's it. I got all my brass with me, and I can just walk away now. It's no surprise that target acquisition with the briefcase gun is more difficult than engaging from the hip or shoulder. But it makes up for that shortcoming with the element of surprise. For nearly 50 years, the MP5 has been one of the world's most respected submachine guns. But advances in cartridge technology have opened the door to a whole new class of automatic firearms, the personal defense weapon. Mike Cabrera, a former SWAT team operative, has the inside stats on the MP7A1, Agent K's 21st Century PDW.
What I like most about the HEK MP7A1 is the fact that it's a compact weapon system that's very effective at long ranges. The MP7A1 is capable of hitting a target up to 300 meters away.
Like submachine guns, PDWs are compact, fully automatic, and carry high-capacity magazines. Some PDWs fire pistol rounds, while others use specialist ammunition developed for high accuracy and penetration. Case in point, the MP7 fires at more than twice the muzzle velocity as the MP5 and can send rounds up to twice as far. How would you define personal defense weapon?
Personal defense weapon to me would be something that I could carry covertly, that would have the power to take care of whatever I needed to take care of out in the field, but it's mainly for the protection of dignitaries, things of that nature. It's a much lighter system than the previous systems that we've had before, like the MP5. Much more effective, but its range is a lot longer than the MP5.
Well, let's go shoot this thing.
Let's do it.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
To put this feisty weapon to the ultimate test, the always willing BGT, ballistic gel torso. Keep your head down. Let's see if this car door made of steel offers any protection from the MP7 at 100 yards. All right, Mike, why don't you put a couple of bursts into that door? We'll see what happens.
Okay. I'm gonna try to go just to the right of that door handle.
Okay. Sounds good. Filming at 12,000 frames per second, our high-speed camera shows the slug breach the door and blow through the target's neck. A split second later, a second direct hit. The bullet's kinetic energy transfers to the head, causing massive trauma. So I'm seeing 1, 2, and they obviously penetrated the outer steel. So just coming around to this side, these are definitely your rounds here. So let's take a look at our ballistic gel target. I think there's actually
An entrance wound there is. Right here, you can see it right here. Hits here, hits something on the inside, and then ricochets and comes back down through here.
But when it hit that spine, it broke the spine. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then, of course, the exit over here. So devastating either way, even through the car door. So yeah, bad day. I'm convinced the MP7's impressive 4.6 millimeter round is something you don't want coming at you, even if you are behind a few layers of steel. The submachine gun is one of the most ferocious weapons of the 20th century, and its development redefined close quarters combat. Soldiers, gangsters, freedom fighters, cops. Anyone with a reason to use deadly force had a reason to like the submachine gun's portability and fearsome rate of fire. I fired several generations of submachine guns in preparation for our final test. Beginning with the first of the breed, the Thompson. The Second World War inspired a new class of lighter, less expensive submachine guns. I especially like the U.S. Army's M3 grease gun. The tiny nation of Israel led the post-war world with its innovative Uzi submachine guns. Engage. The micro Uzi is still used today by Israeli covert forces. Our lineup also included H&K's MP5, which I used as a pararescueman. It remains top of the line, one of the world's lightest and most advanced submachine guns. After firing submachine guns that changed the world, I'm ready to take a few of them with me into battle for one final test. Former Navy SEAL Jeff Reeves is back to brief me on the mission. So Jeff, after all these tests, what do you have planned for the submachine guns?
Well, for your final submachine gun test, Will, we're going to be working together as a submachine gun rifle team, just like the U.S. did in World War II. Now, I've designed a multi-stage target course behind us, which represents a small enemy town in Europe, and you and I will be assaulting through it. Our mission is to neutralize 2 enemy officers, but they're inside a town guarded by 6 infantrymen. Now, you'll be laying down suppressive fire against the defenders using the World War II-era submachine gun of your choice. Once you've taken out the front targets, I'll zero in on the smaller targets with my rifle. Our main objective is to kill the officers who are moving behind the cover of the buildings. They move pretty fast, so we'll have to be on our toes, and we only have 2 minutes to take out all of them, infantry and officers.
Now, if things get a little too hairy, I've got a secret contingency plan that I think we're both gonna love.
Okay, that sounds kind of interesting.
You're gonna love it.
But I mean, what about you? Now, you've shot all these different submachine guns. Which one is your favorite?
I'm gonna go with the M3 grease gun. It's a great weapon system, and just like back in the day, if I run out of ammo or have a problem with this, I'm just gonna look for a replacement submachine gun during the fight.
Me, myself, I'm gonna go with the M1 Grand Rifle. It was a standard issue rifle at the time.
It's a good weapon.
All right, you ready?
Let's roll.
Ready, Will? Go!
I got a guy in the window. I chose the M3 grease gun because it just feels better for me. And then it has a slower rate of fire at only 450 rounds a minute. It's really easy to re-index those front sights back on the target.
When you see glass shatter and objects go flying, it feels great.
Target's down, I'm moving.
Move.
I'm out. In the heat of battle, you gotta be ready to grab any weapon system and use that thing effectively against your enemy. It doesn't matter if the weapon belonged to you or belonged to a bad guy.
Hitting moving targets is always a challenge. It requires a good amount of concentration.
You got him. When I transitioned to Thompson, I had a higher rate of fire at about 700 rounds a minute. It was even more effective blasting those closer targets. Target's down. We were down to just one infantry soldier, and I could see Jeff working his way to take him out. I'm out. How about you?
I'm out.
I got this last guy.
All right.
That last robot officer was getting away pretty quick. The Thompson and all these submachine guns do have a fairly limited range, so I kind of wanted to close with and destroy that target.
Nice shooting.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're down on the stress course, and I was saying, like, hey, don't worry, I got this one. You took off. I didn't realize this was your contingency plan.
It was a great opportunity to test out this weapon mounted on this platform. In World War II, of course, they thought that this was a great platform from which to employ this weapon. Turns out it was pretty nice, man. I didn't have to absorb any of the recoil with my body. The mount took all that. The motorcycle was moving forward, not an issue at all. This guy paid the price.
Your 45 rounds definitely penetrated right through the back, coming right through the chest, as you can see here. Took out his lungs, took out his spine.
So that was actually a really interesting course. I liked the ability to use different weapon systems while I was down there. I went from the M3 grease gun to the M1A1 Tommy gun, and that transition was really smooth. Of course, I had a different rate of fire for both weapon systems, a little bit slower on the grease gun.
Well, I wanted you to see how, in World War II in the U.S., how they utilized the submachine gun and the rifle teams at the same time. Submachine guns were used for the short range, while they used the long rifle to take out the targets far away. I mean, max effective range on this weapon is 1,000 yards for a human-sized target. Good job.
Thank you very much. That was a fun challenge.
Like that stress course?
Yeah, it was pretty good, man. You ready to get out of here? You can ride on the back.
I'll run. I appreciate that, though.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I was really impressed with the weapon systems that we used. Those submachine guns, the grease gun, the Thompsons, the Uzis. And to see that progression historically bring us to where we are today was just really an awesome experience. There's my initials, kinda. Because of its versatility, the submachine gun will continue to be a tactically essential weapon well into the 21st century. I'm Wil Willis, locked and cleared. I'll see you next time on the range.